Welcome to the Take 10 with 4-H role of the 4-H club leader. We're going to hit some high points and try to make it a little more understandable in terms of what this role is, since it does have a lot going on with the club leader role. So first off, when we talk about the role of the club leader, oftentimes that's interchanged with the organizational leader. So it's the person who's in charge of running the club. There's three areas I kind of wanted to highlight today in our short Take 10. One is that person is in charge of guiding the operation of the club. We're going to go into detail on each one of these. The next is guiding the club environment. And the final one is responsible for the club communication. So what does each one of those look like? When we talk about guiding the operation of the club, we're looking at understanding and implementing the components of the 4-H club meeting. In that, it's looking at the yearly program plan and helping plan that. The monthly meetings, what do they look like? Making a plan for each monthly meeting. Meeting with your president and officers before the meetings to help go over the agenda, because the kids are the ones that should be running it, but we know they need our guidance. Evaluating the programs and whether they're meeting the goals. You set a yearly program and then looking at back and going, you know what, that didn't work real well. And it's not just the club leader who's making these decisions, but you're leading these conversations with the key players. And then recruiting, coordinating, organizing, delegating to the other leaders, parents within your club to get things done and to help support these youth. Now, that's a lot right there, and I realize that. There is another Take 10 that I wanted to mention that is specifically on club meetings, and it gives you a lot more detail and some of the references and resources that are available that directly speak to what the club meeting looks like. So that's a very key component of a club leader, is this piece right here. Whoops. Getting enrollments and then ordering the supplies, the project materials, coordinating that with the extension office to make sure the youth have what they need, and being prepared for the meetings. Now, when you look at all this, it can be a lot. When it's organized and laid out over the course of the year and you share some of those responsibilities, it does help make it more manageable. Because when I was a club leader, I will absolutely tell you, when I worked in the extension office, I was working part-time in there, and the flow of information and what I understood and what was going on was much easier for me to be ready for the meetings. When I took a teaching job and I was removed for that conversations and there's just that flow of information, I felt it much harder for me to be prepared, because I was like, oh wait, I need to go back and spend some time prior to getting to the meeting so that I'm ready. But it's such a key and important role to make sure everything runs smoothly. So when we talk about the club environment, we're talking about the pieces of 4-H that make 4-H what it is, the belonging, and that's providing an opportunity for those that come to feel like they belong and they're learning, and it's a fun environment. That's part of 4-H, why kids want to come. And we know that's a key thing. They like to have fun. Now, fun can be incorporated with all that we need to accomplish. And that goes back to that club meetings. There's a fun, effective club meetings handout, and it shows the breakdown. And in that other Take 10, it's also in the club leader's handbook, but it's a reference in that. It's really easy to find. Oops. Providing for safety of members. This is just a piece of that working with minors that you take every year. Watching the environment of the room. What does it look like? There's things left out in the room that we borrow that to have our meetings that might not be safe for our members, just when they're running and playing games? Or are there is it safety in terms of how they're treating each other? So we're aware, and but you can recruit other adults. So when I'm talking about the club leader, I'm also saying you can have others help you with these roles, because there's a lot going on at a meeting. It may be hard to catch all pieces, but if you have someone there who's greeting everybody, or their job is just to say, hey, let's watch, the kids are playing this game, will you just watch for the safety issues? We had one game where they would run, and it's called I Like, and if everybody said I like apples. Everybody liked apples, had to get up and move, right? And you're in chairs in a circle. Well, when you did fruit basket upset, everybody moved. Well, the chairs could go sliding depending on the surface, and just being very aware and watching that and kind of, just typical safety. And then watching after the meeting, making sure they're all getting out and riding home with who they need to, and their transportation is there to get them, and just all those pieces. That's a key part of the overview of the club leader, but it doesn't have to be just the club leader's responsibility. That's where you get other people to help. Again, this is encouraging and recruiting other adults to help you with recognizing and watching the members and encouraging them at what they're doing. You may have those that might not want to play a game and not be too shy. Well, it's getting them involved and having help to make sure all members have the same opportunities and feel welcome at your 4-H club meeting. Encouraging presentations. We know that public speaking is a huge piece of 4-H. And one of the things that over the years I've heard teachers say over and over is they could recognize kids that were in 4-H when they were doing presentations, especially in the elementary and upper elementary, because they had practiced. They'd been up in front of their clubs. So encouraging them, that should be a piece. Not all clubs do it. Not all families do it. And every county looks a little different on that. But it is a really great thing for those kids and the skill that they can learn. One great example that leaders shared with me is that when it comes to just roll call and how they answer roll call, they have to stand up and they have to have an answer for whatever the question may be. And in our club, it used to be Halloween. What are you going to dress up as? So that's a really simple one. So they stand up, they share that. So it's that little small step of moving towards standing up in front of your peers and doing something. Not discriminate. It's open for everybody and making sure everybody feels a part. And that if there's anyone who needs accommodations, there are systems in place for them to go get a hold of your county and walk through that to make sure every kid has what they need to be able to participate in 4-H in the manner that is safe and best for them. So opportunities for leadership and community service. Within our clubs, we do have our club officers. Great way for kids to start out learning how to practice those leadership skills. The community service is another huge piece of 4-H, and getting out and doing something as a club for community service, and then being involved in the county community service. If you'll notice at all of our state events, the state leadership team picks a community service to encourage all participants coming to be a part of as well. So we try to do it on all levels. And encouraging your kids being in the local and county 4-H activities, whatever's going on, and sharing that with them so that they know these are things they could do. I noticed on Facebook just recently, lots of counties have light parades in their towns, and their 4-H clubs were doing floats. And that's just a fun thing to do. It's it's sharing with the community what this group is a little bit, so they may become familiar with 4-H, but it's a really neat thing for the kids to be able to be a part of just something fun like that. Okay, responsible for club communication, which is a key one. And I wish communication was easy. And I know it's a continual conversation on communication in every aspect of life. That seems to be something that we always all can continue to work on. And there is also another Take 10 that just has some brief ideas to help with communication that you may want to refer to as well. But as the club leader, you're communicating between your club and the county extension staff, and with the other leaders about what's going on with the 4-H, with materials, with events. You're that line of communication. You're also communicating with the members and the parents, what's happening, what's going on, how can they be involved, what are the requirements, and those have been communicated, from the extension office to the leaders, the club leaders, to be able to share it in the club. And one of the key things, we talked a little bit about enrollment earlier, is you're that key hub that collects that enrollment. Every county may be a little different, so I encourage you to definitely talk to your extension office and find out what the process is on how that may work. But working with enrollment and having the understanding of what that process is for your club members to be a part of. Now, when I mentioned communication with your extension and staff and with your members and parents, there are newsletters that go out. There's things posted on Facebook. There's other sites, websites, and different processes for communication. So you're not the only one as the club leader, but you're a key person to know what that information is and to help then direct your members and your parents to those sources to make sure they're on top of what information is coming out. Attending leader trainings, a very key thing here is going and being a part of a training to understand what's new, what's going on in your particular county. There are state trainings. It's a forum that's held each November, which is a great opportunity to kind of learn more about projects, how other leaders are doing things. And the favorite piece is networking, that most everybody comes when they're able to attend, really enjoy that piece, and just visiting and learning from each other. The financial records, there is a process. There is there's a training in your Z Suite specific to your financial club financials, and there's some very specific rules. So really working with your extension office on what that looks like. As a club leader, you may or may not be directly on that account. That may depend. So it's really important that you communicate with your extension office and find out what the process is there. Oops, I skipped that little one. And seeking help and assistance from other people. And I think I mentioned this earlier, is there's lots of things as a club leader you're kind of overseeing, but that does not mean you have to be the one doing those things. And recruiting and getting help from your parents and your other leaders in your club is a really important piece to share that load and not become overwhelmed, because we know it can be a lot, but there's lots of people out there willing to help, assist, and try to make your job easier. And one of the final pieces, there is a New Mexico 4-H Club Leaders Handbook, which is on the website, and I'll put a link to it with this Take 10 as well. But it has a creed for leaders, which I thought was a really neat reminder of just some of the things in 4-H.